Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today's video, I want to do a breakdown on how you can put a build together into Division 2, and we're going to look at it from the perspective of trying to create a marksman rifle build. So if, for instance, you're a new player, you kind of get yourself to level 40, you want to move on and create a marksman rifle build, basically what you call a sniper in any other game. Here we call it marksman rifle, and I'll tell you the reason why. What do you need to do to create a build that is hard-hitting, that does a good job, and one that basically, gives you a challenge? Because, a marksman rifle build is one in the division where you actually have to, earn your stripes. You got to land your shots. Enemy NPCs are running all over the place, and you got to, if you're playing in a team, you have to provide a good damage bonus, or at least be a huge damage dealer or damage causer for your team in terms of team energy and did I say team energy? I meant to say team synergy. My goodness, so many things in this game. Anyways, let's start looking at what a build will look like, and I'll talk you through the reason I have the items that I've selected, and we'll look at some differences that you actually have to pay attention to when you're dealing with these builds. A marksman rifle build is a fun build to run. If you guys don't know, back in the days when Dark Hours, which is the first raid, first came out, the Paratrooper SVD was my favorite weapon. I would run this weapon. I think there was a talent that I used, I can't remember the name, where a bunch of your rounds didn't even cause any issue. Like, you got your rounds back whenever you landed a shot. Can't remember the name of the talent, and I would run it with the the gear set called the Aces and 8 gear set. It's a very nice, wonderful gear set. We'll probably take a look at it if we have any time in this video. Now note, within the marksman rifle, class of weapons, you have bolt action versions. If you notice, the RPM here is 60. You will every time have to, get that round into the chamber every time you fire a round, and then you have some that are, pretty much semi-automatic. So the Paratrooper SVD is one of those. It can fire multiple rounds in succession without having to do anything, and you reload it with the magazine. That's how you basically get your rounds in there. In the case of the Mantis, you have to, at every point you shoot, chip chip, you got to do that, and then you can reload again with I think individually the reload speed is really slow, but its damage dealing for a bolt action marksman rifle is much higher. For those of you who are weapons experts, don't laugh, okay? I'm just trying my best out here. Now notice again that there are also what we call rifles within this game that are not marksman rifles. So the M700 Tactical is a marksman rifle. The Scalpel is a named M700 Carbon, I think. So pay attention to that. The White Death is also one of the is a named version of one of our marksman rifles in the game. I can't remember exactly. But then you have the Baker's Dozen, which also has the look like it's some marksman rifle, but it's not. It's actually a rifle. So that's a difference. And it does have a semi-automatic system as well. So it fires rounds in succession and does deal high damage as well. So pay attention for it. When you're building, do not mistake it for a marksman rifle. It is a rifle, so don't conflate that. The reason you don't conflate that is because there are brand sets that will grant you bonuses for one or the other. And so that's a very important thing that you must take into account. In fact, the rifle platform, if you're going to build with it, you want to have the brand set called the Overlord Armaments. That's a very, very solid brand set because its first piece will give you 10% rifle damage. So that's something that you need to pay attention to. If you're building with the marksman rifle, you probably want to prioritize the Araldi Holdings brand sets, which gives you 10% marksman rifle damage on running one piece. And then if you notice the way it actually continues to structure itself, its second piece gives you 15% headshot damage. This is something that you must pay attention to, because if you go and look at the attributes within, say, a marksman rifle compared to a rifle, you're going to notice that the attributes are actually very different. So take a look at these two from here. You're going to see that the attributes that roll on them, they do stand out. So this is your Baker's Dozen, which is basically a classic M1A, I think. Its core attributes are pretty much rifle damage, critical hit damage, and then the attribute here is health damage. Now, I don't remember if these roll other different things. I think they do. These can be, different talents on some weapons or attributes on some weapons, whatever it is. But that's pretty much, what you get. Now, if you look at the core attributes here for the marksman rifle, the Paratrooper SVD, you have marksman rifle damage, yes, but here you have headshot damage. This also plays an important role when you're actually putting together your build, because you're going to have to prioritize headshot damage as a marksman rifle player. Headshot damage is where you pretty much get all your gains from. That leads me into how you should select your brand sets. Now, if you're not building with a gear set that does allow for you to use a marksman rifle, which, like I said, the Aces and Eights is the gear set that actually does a good job in that, you have to look for brand sets that actually support your headshot damage and a few other things, as well as talents on those brand sets that allow for you to be able to deal a lot of damage. So let's look at the Providence system. The Providence defense system, the first piece gives you 15% headshot damage. Add that to your 111% marksman rifle damage. I mean, you're already looking at 125% headshot damage. So the headshot multiplier is already in your favor while using just one piece of the Providence brand set, which is actually pretty cool. If you want to go ahead and add some more spice to your build, you want to get, like I already mentioned, the Heraldi system, which is pretty much going to give you if you were to actually use two pieces, you get 15% headshot damage. Very solid way to go. So you probably want to run two pieces of the Heraldi so that you can get the 10% marksman rifle damage bonus, which increases your overall damage by 10%, and then the extra 15% headshot damage. At this point, you're looking and pushing close to 150% headshot damage. You can actually get a lot more, and I'll show you how you can keep stacking up all those things. And then as you go on, you can already prioritize all kinds of other fun stuff. You can prioritize mods on, say, your weapon. Say if you're using something like the Paratrooper SVD, you can get a mod that adds an extra 30% headshot damage. You can even get a mod that gives you an extra 45% headshot damage, which is your digital scope that is tied to the sharpshooter specialization. At that point, I mean, you are pretty much going to be hitting headshots that make people go, whoa, if you're built very well. So again, you must make sure that you're not, like I'm doing right now, running some random gear set, or I say gear set, some random specialization that has nothing to do with enhancing your marksman rifle build. And that's another thing that brings you to looking into your specializations and going, okay, what specialization do I need? The obvious choice is the sharpshooter specialization, because it does grant you a huge headshot damage bonus. In fact, it has a talent called One in the Head, and it's a tier 5 passive talent, and it says 15% increased headshot damage with rifles and marksman rifles. Allows for precision kills. So that's a big deal. Now, why am I worried about the damage numbers for headshots? I'm glad you asked. We're going to look at recommendations, in my opinion, that you can actually look at when it comes to your chest piece and your backpack talent. Now, this is a build example. We're walking through this build, so some of you must have seen explosive delivery and being like, what? No, you don't run explosive delivery with your marksman rifle build. That is not the way that you do things. In fact, if I would recommend any talent that you should run on your chest piece, I would recommend that you go with, let's go to talents, that you go with Headhunter. Headhunter, in my opinion, is what I believe is going to give you good value for running and building your headshot damage. So Headhunter says after killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit within 30 seconds deals an additional 125% of that killing blow's damage. Damage is capped at 800% of your weapon damage. So if your weapon is actually if you're stacking, and all that good stuff, it will actually limit that. And it says this is raised to 1,250 if your headshot damage is greater than 150%. So that's what I was pushing at when I was saying, get the 15% here, get the 10% here, and all of the above. So Headhunter is actually going to be something that helps you. So if you're looking for how to stack up all those damage numbers and you want to do some creative, building where you don't need to use all of your slots, you can just use mods to be able to achieve headshot damage as well. The headshot damage mods are offensive mods that you can slot on your mask, on your backpack and chest piece, and they grant you a max of 10% headshot damage. I have one of those mods, and I think that's about all I have when it comes to the maximum roll, and the max roll is a 10% headshot damage. Now, another talent for the chest piece that could be slept on, and I know is a very good one, is braced. Braced is one of the best talents in this game because it does grant you a lot of weapon handling. Now, granted, the survivalist specialization also allows to, grant you some stability as well. But if you really want more precision and you want a laser marksman rifle, I don't think you can actually say brace doesn't do anything for you. The more shots you land, the more damage you deal. So braced is there to help you. It says, while in cover, weapon handling is increased by 45%. It's like magic. You can be firing a weapon just at any point, and then before you know, you have braced, you get in cover, and then that weapon all becomes a turret. Basically, it just can hit anything by itself. So that's something that you must pay attention to. Now, when it comes to backpack talents, recommendations will be, in my opinion, concussion, which is a headshot damage talent that increases your weapon damage. It says headshots increases total weapon damage by 10% for 1.5 seconds, or 5 seconds with the marksman rifle. So it's giving you preference. You hit a headshot, you have 5 full seconds, and you have a 10% weapon damage buff. A headshot kill increases that weapon damage by 15% for 10 seconds. Very, very useful. You could also use opportunistic. This is something that actually works for team play, so pay attention to that as well. And it says enemies you hit with shotguns or marksman rifles amplifies the damage they take by 10% from all sources for 5 seconds. So once you mark them, if you're playing Overwatch, your work is easy. You just sit down, land a few shots on an enemy, land a few shots on another enemy, and as they're marked, your team can just basically mow them down. It's like when we used to play the Dark Hours raid, and Aces was such a good brand set. You could just play Overwatch on Station 4 and help the other stations and basically just mark enemy NPCs or just land shots. Whatever it is you were doing was just pretty much, based on how you wanted to play. Even till date, the opportunistic talent is actually something that's used by a lot of tanks who use their shotguns to be able to get in close to the enemies and knock them and pretty much, mark them for the other team members to be able to burst them down with a bunch of damage. And then when it comes to your weapon choice, it would depend on how you want to run with your weapon. I would recommend either the Mantis or the Nemesis because these are two hard-hitting weapons. First of all, let's look at the Mantis. The Mantis is one that drops in the general loot pool, meaning you can get it by doing targeted loot, and its talent's actually pretty interesting. I'll probably do another video because this video is getting really long, and we'll talk about the Nemesis in that video, but this particular talent says in plain sight, it says your scope view displays additional information about enemies not targeting you. Now, headshot and weak point damage against enemies not targeting you is amplified by 50%. So this is a very good weapon. I mean, the way it hits, you build well with this thing, and it will really, really shock you. Headshot kills reset the cooldown of the decoy skill. So this bonus will wait until the decoy goes on cooldown if currently active. So as a marksman, some of the things that you're going to have to deal with is enemy NPCs hitting you while you're scoped in. So make sure that you at least have a decoy in order for them to be able to, get their attention off of you. And before I leave, before you guys fight me, there is another talent that you must also consider while using a marksman rifle because it's really good and I didn't want to forget it. And it's called the focus talent. It increases your total weapon damage by 5% every second you're aiming while scoped in AX or higher, up to 50%. So you can pretty much maximize your damage while you're scoped in if you have a chest piece that has this particular talent on there. So this is how builds work. You can put together and piece together all of these different items, these different talents, attributes, I would say bonuses that come with your brand sets, that comes with your weapon, that comes with your gear, that comes with your mod, and also with your specialization to create something that is just amazing in this game. Now, when it comes to testing, that is something that I will leave up to you. This build is probably going to suck for you. In fact, this is not a good, or I would say it's a decent marksman rifle build. It can take you places, but it is not optimized by any means. In fact, there are better ways to build marksman rifle builds in the Division 2, but I wanted to just give you pretty much what I believed was probably the very, I would say the simplest way to go about it. If you notice, my headshot damage with this weapon is 258%, which is actually pretty cool. And so you can build and have your headshot damage be as high as you pretty much want it to go. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I know this was a lot, and and this is just one aspect of this game. So this is some of the stuff that makes The Division kind of a beautiful game, a game that really keeps you playing. And if you start exploring all these different possibilities, you're not going to put the game down easily. Talk to you guys in another video. Peace out.